Hi, this is Jessica with APC Paints, and today we're going to be working on this wooden bowl that I picked up from the thrift store. And I'm going to be using two colors from American Paint Company, and I'm going to show you how you can just wet distress any piece using American Paint Company products and a damp cloth to get an awesome finish. So come along and see what I create. So I picked up this bowl from the thrift store and it was $7, and I've been seeing lots of awesome projects with wooden bowls, so I thought, hey, I'm gonna snag this one and see what we can do with it. The colors that I'm thinking of today are Uncle Sam and Smoke Signal, and I'd like to put Smoke Signal on the bottom with Uncle Sam on top, and then we're going to just wet distress it and see what it does on this awesome detail that we have from this wool. My brush has been sitting in some water just to loosen up the bristles a bit. You don't want your brush to sit in there too long, but just long enough to get the bristles moving. And so we're going to use Smoke Signal first. And we're just going to start covering the outside of this wooden bowl. So I love that American Paint Company products adhere to any surface, and so it's pretty fun when you go to your local thrift store and see all of these items that you think you can just put APC on. It's kind of fun. You start looking at everything differently. I'm thinking this will be fun on my kitchen table with some oranges in it or some apples. It would be fun, you know, even on a coffee table in the living room. It could be your catch-all bucket. And I love layering with American Paint Company paint. So basically, if you can put as many colors as you want on top of each other, and then when you go to distress, it'll reveal the underneath color, which is kind of fun. So you can stick to your neutrals like I'm doing today with a white and a gray, or you can get all crazy and do all sorts of fun colors. Years ago I painted my piano and I did a whole bunch of different bright colors on the bottom, and then I painted with a black cannonball over the top of all the bright colors, and then just lightly distressed and all the colors popped through, and I loved it. It was so much fun, so much color. I have since painted over top of that. My piano is pretty thick because I love painting my piano. It's a great piece to have a pop of color. Mind you, right now my piano is a gray. So Pacific Fog is the color of it now. So it's not as bright as it used to be. So when you're painting, the first layer might look like a kindergartner painted it, but don't worry about that. Once it completely dries, we'll go ahead and add the next layer to it. And this one is kind of tricky because it has all these cutouts in it, but it's going to be a pretty awesome project, I'm sure, once it is done. And we'll just go ahead and paint the inside here. Again, the first layer does not have to be perfect looking. So the question I like to always ask is, what is the weather by you guys? What's the weather doing? Are the birds chirping and the grass turning green? I love spring. Spring is my favorite time of year. Seems like everybody gets the itch to do something, to create something new, to paint something, painting rooms. It's the season for new. Okay, we're gonna let this completely dry and we'll come back and do another coat later. Okay, so now that this bowl is nice and dry, we're going to do a second layer with the Uncle Sam, which is the white. So we got like this gray and white look happening here. And just like this bottom layer, just gonna go over it and cover this nice gray layer. Okay, so just to give a recap of what we've done here, this was a wooden bowl that I purchased from our thrift store, and I did a bottom color of Smoke Signal and a top color of Uncle Sam, and now I'm ready for the fun part. Now some things I just want to show you is here some of the paint came off on the side, and that was because I tipped it upside down when it was still wet. So I'm going to leave that there and see if I can just blend it into this piece. And when you look at this bowl, it doesn't look like it's professionally done, like it doesn't look like a good finish. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can make it still look awesome, just with a little bit of wet distressing. So what we want to do is we want to take our cloth, or lint-free cloth, and just dip it into some water. And you don't want it to be dripping wet, you just want it to be damp. Now there's several ways that you can do this, but the way that I've always done it is I've just taken it and wrapped it around one finger and then focused the pressure just in one area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start that, and I'm going to just apply pressure around the top of the bowl just until that second color pops through. And if it goes all the way down to the wood finish, I'm going to be fine with that too. So you just lightly apply pressure until you get the look that you like. It's so easy to wet distress, and it's less mess. And you can go heavy distressing. I typically just start like around the edges, and then I hold it back and think, well, does it need more? Does it need less? Basically, when it comes to distressing, it's all personal preference at the end of the day. If you like it heavy distressed or light. And you don't have to distress with APC, but it's just fun, especially when you start layering the colors. It's really fun to do. So now I'm just going to go in a circular motion just over top of this detailed piece. Oh, look at that, guys. So awesome. This is the part that just really makes my heart happy. When the piece comes alive. Now you can distress with sandpaper too, but it just is a little bit more messier. I love the softness that wet distressing gives. And if you think that you've taken too much off of an area, you can just, at the end when we come back, you can just dab your finger in some paint to cover up the areas that you might think too much came off. I just love this combination of Uncle Sam and Smoke Signal. The gray and the white together is really pretty. And wet distressing is awesome on pieces that have detail. So next time you're out looking at your thrift store, look for pieces that have lots of detail. This has like the little lines in the leaves. It's very pretty. And then when you notice that it's getting a little bit hard to remove that layer, it's probably because your cloth needs to be dipped in water. Oh, loving it. Loving it. So basically, the method that I use for wet distressing is I just hold it back and see what it needs, and I just keep looking at it and just working with the piece until I get the look that I like. This is the creating part. Well, another part of the creating part. So I think it was 3 layers of Smoke Signal on the bottom and just 1 of the Uncle Sam on top for reference. Loving it. Love. I think I am going to just add a little bit of white to the top here to cover up this little bit here. And I'm just going to try to blend in the paint on the top there. There. Okay. Now the inside with the bowl. The inside's kind of tricky, so I just put the cloth, the damp cloth in here, and then just kind of move it around until some of the other colors, the bottom color pops through, or till I'm liking the look. ran out of water, so my cloth is starting to get a little bit thick here and sticky. But pretty happy. What do you guys think? Okay, so our final step on this, we painted it, we distressed it, and now we're going to seal it. And I'm going to be using American Paint Company's clear wax for this project. So the thing to remember with the wax is that a little bit goes up a long ways. And if you have used furniture wax before, you'll notice the difference with American Paint Company's wax is that there's no smells to this. Well, it does smell like honey and it goes on like butter. One of the things is you have to remember that even though it doesn't smell strong, you still just need a little bit. You don't need to use more. So we're just gonna take our cloth and I'm just gonna get a little bit on our cloth. And we're basically just gonna rub it over the whole surface, okay? We're gonna let the wax soak into the paint. And you'll notice that the colors are just gonna pop a little bit more. And you want to get it into the grooves, but if you see like it's chunky, you want to remove the chunk of wax. You don't want it to dry on there like that. So just move it around, rub it into the clay. So the steps with wax are on, off, and buff. So right now we're just putting it into the clay. You can apply the wax with a cloth, or there's waxing brushes that are really nice for bigger projects. The reason why I like using a wax brush on a bigger project is because it applies the wax evenly, whereas if you were to do a big project and use a cloth, the wax can suck into the cloth and you end up losing, well, you use more wax when you use a cloth. So if you're doing a bigger piece, highly recommend using a wax brush. But there are no headaches with this wax. I can smell the honey smell of it. It smells so good. Now the other thing with wax is that it's going to harden over time. So we apply it and then we rub it into the clay and get as much as we can off. And then we rub it again to buff it and make it nice and hard, and then we're gonna let it sit and harden. It'll be the hardest over a month, but at least we'll let it sit for at least a week. If you're doing bigger projects, you want to leave it for at least a month so it can have time to really cure. Okay, so I think we got that nicely on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my cloth and just go over the whole bowl, making sure that there's no chunks. And I love this color combo of the gray and the white. And there you have it. That was a fun project. And I hope it inspired you to go check out your thrift store, see what kind of wooden bowls you can find, see what kind of pieces you can find with lots of details. And I really do hope you make time to create.